Now we're live. Good evening, gentlemen. How you doing? How you doing? I am back in Colorado. I think this is the first live I've been on since I've been back in Colorado, so that's exciting. Charlie, how you doing tonight? Todd, how
Uh,
you doing?
I'm doing good. Hey, Clay. Hey, Mike.
Hey, everyone in the chat.
It was cold here today, boys.
Well, it was 30 degrees and that wet air, and it was about 25 miles an hour blowing. It was just, man, it was cold.
It it wasn't cold here like your cold, but it was cold for a cold here, if that makes sense. I think it was only 39 today, but we haven't seen the sun. I don't know. It's been foggy every day. Today was a heavy mist. It was almost a rain. But then you go 3 hours west of here on the coast, in my mom's house, it's like 80 degrees. So go figure.
We had almost 65 degrees today. I was hitting some of the colonies I hadn't gotten to yet with OAV. I'm still putting insulation on the top of my colonies. So I have a list. I have my chart of all my different yards. I had a couple still to get to. And then tomorrow I have 4 management yards to get to. But I'm putting feed on because everything's going through their feed because it's been kind of warm, right? So they're going through their winter feed a little bit quicker than usual. So I've been giving them feed. I've been hitting them with OA, putting insulation on, and then seeing what else I haven't done yet. Like there was a colony that needed a mouse guard or two. But it was nice to get back in the bees. It felt really good to open lids and have a hive tool in my hand. It's kind of been, I don't know, a month and a half since I've worked bees, it feels like. It felt really good.
Hey, Glade. So how did temperature wise, you went from Florida to Colorado? Was it like a huge shocker?
It was. I wore like shoes once in Florida. Every other day it was my sandals and no socks, right? So it was pretty nice there. And it felt weird to be in weather that warm and not be working bees, right? When you're in a t-shirt and just in that kind of weather, that's kind of where my body was ready to go. And it felt weird to not have bee work to do in that kind of temperature. So then I got back to Colorado. Today's Thursday. I got back last Friday. So almost a week I've been home now. And it had snowed a couple of days before I got home, and there was still snow on the ground. But the day I got home, it was like mid 40s, so it wasn't that cold. And it's been melting since then, and it's been pretty warm ever since. So it's been kind of nice. We had a market, so I got home Friday. I left Tampa. My flight left 1:30, so I got to. So the American Honey Producers Conference was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I got to see like Friday mornings a little bit of that, but I had to leave around 10:30 to get to the airport to get my flight back. I got back around 5 o'clock. We had an event that Saturday and Sunday up in Longmont, which is like an hour north of us. So I guess.
Did you go to the other days of the Honey Producers Association?
I was there Wednesday, I was there Thursday, and then half of Friday. Yeah.
Half of Friday. Now, I've been, Lloyd, who I would go to Georgia with to get truckload of bees, he was there and he's said I should go. But what's your take on that? Was it more commercial?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It was mostly commercial guys and like scientist researchers. So each day there was a different keynote speaker. So on the first day was Zach Lamas, and he talked about the colony die-offs and his, vectors and virus was the paper that he published. So he pretty much described that. The next day was Dr. Peter Fowler from Michigan State University. His keynote was all on European foul brood and all of the work that they've been doing up at Michigan State on foul brood. And then the third day was Dr. Rankovich, where he talked about amitraz resistance. But it was very commercially. It was a lot of business being done out in the hallways, out in the trade show. The trade show is very different than what would we expect at the Bee Expo.
Yeah, I've seen where Kudik with I forget what is the guy that runs his part of it. He was going down to that show, I guess, to sell nukes and stuff.
Yep.
And then I see Chuck Kudik on Facebook got the beekeepers award for the year and all that. And I've been to his place up in New York. It's huge. He's got a hot room you just back the tractor and trailer in.
Yeah.
And then he's got like 3 or 4 lines of honey extraction and stuff like that.
So honestly, Charlie, I felt a little bit like a fish out of water. I felt like that, not like the beekeeper like those other beekeepers are. I'm not a commercial guy. I don't move colonies. I don't need a broker. I don't need insurance. I don't need an app to help me with how to file for ELAP. There's a lot of booths that were like that. I could get drought insurance. I could get consulting services on how to file for ELAP. ELAP was a big conversation. There was a round table kind of discussion on ELAP, and the room for that was jam-packed. That one had all the guys were in that room. Up to then, like the presentations were like half full. It was like people like me wanting to hear the scientists sitting in the chairs, but you could tell there was a lot of guys who know each other that just are doing business or just visiting with each other out in the hallways.
Yeah, that's like there's a guy that's going to be coming with me out to Nobby, and he is commercial, not big commercial, but that's what he does for a living. And he talks about ELAP, and he talked about, he got this check. You have to go to the local ag guy, I guess you would call it, every month and put in numbers and stuff like that in order to get all that stuff.
Yeah. So from a commercial perspective, there was some cool stuff related to, like, there's this one app where you're recording information where it plugs in exactly the data that ELAP wants on colony losses per yard and all that kind of stuff. So the app is helping you do the paperwork for ELAP, and hearing that conversation of all these guys who, I've never thought about filing for ELAP. I've always been like, well, if I lose my bees, it's on me to get them back. It's not, I'm not going to file the paperwork and tell the government they need to pay me back for the livestock that I didn't take care of well enough. But hearing other people with other perspectives and other business models explain why it is something that we need or why it's the best we have, it's one of those topics that's a whole lot more complicated than what it looks like when you really hear all the people living it and why they do it and why they don't do it and the impact. Like there's this one guy who was saying, I haven't done it. I don't really need to do it, but there's people that are getting yards all around me and I need to stay competitive. And if it means getting that ELAP money to stay competitive to get these yards to put my bees in, that's what I have to do. So it was really enlightening in that sense. So there's a lot of people that I knew of but didn't know, that kind of thing. So I did a lot of listening and not talking kind of thing. So, and I can only sit and listen and talk for so long. At some point my body doesn't want to sit there anymore. So one day I left around 3.
I say from what you're describing, I haven't missed anything.
Yeah, there might have been some conversations that would have been really valuable for you to have out in the hallways and out, in the trade show.
Well,
but
I'm sure
you're not on the scale of these guys, nowhere near like me.
They look at me as a backyard beekeeper.
Yeah.
And now Lloyd goes down there. Now he's buying barrels of honey, and he's selling nukes. He'll go to Chuck's place. All right, I'm going to need 500, and that kind of stuff. And he's doing, like you say, he's doing business with that bunch, But he's been at it for 50 years too.
So it was interesting, and it was interesting here how the organization is lobbying and going to Washington and really advocating for the Honey Integrity Act. And some of what they're doing is trying to figure out labor and advocating for like H-2A kind of stuff, so people can have the workforce that they need when they need it. So there's a lot of interesting stuff. I think it's really important that everyone knows about the parts of the industry that they're not a part of, but they are connected to. Like, we're connected to these guys and what they do, and in different ways, but still there's connections. And I think it's really important that we understand a little bit of why they do what they do.
Yeah, I would just, he had told me, I was bored with some of the other meetings or whatever you want to call it, and he said, go to that one, because it moves around all over the United States. And he was talking about, well, they talked about insurance, like you said, and where you take your corporation and you divide it up into LLCs and do it this way and all that. I'm like, that doesn't have nothing to do with me.
Yeah. I saw him there. I didn't speak to him. I don't know him personally, so I didn't go up to him and talk to him and approach him. I saw Corey Stevens briefly. I saw Cayman briefly, but they were busy. I mean, they were busy politicking too, so it was hard to get them in a long conversation. Like, I wanted to go to the one round table to end Friday, was like, how do we work together as an industry? And that's why part of why Cayman was there. He was going to be one of the round table speakers. The president of ABF was going to be there with the whole idea of how do we work as an industry to be a common voice to get things done or have laws changed that benefit beekeepers. So that was one I really wanted to hear, but didn't get to hear. There was one like some of the presentations were good, and some are presentations that you can find on the internet, and some of them were honestly not that good. They just had to fill up the 3 days. And I think that's true with every conference. You're going to get a variety of different talks. Some people are good speakers and some people are less dynamic speakers, even if their information is really good. So yeah, it was a good balance. There was the apiculture, the American apiculture, the apiary inspectors, that group was there. So there was kind of a round table where they talked about what services they offered, but that was pretty introductory. Just this is what we do, this is how we can help, with that kind of thing.
Now, was this the same organization that you were down in Louisiana?
No, that's the American Beekeeping Federation. So
ABF.
that's another professional beekeepers conference group, and that's part of like where do you hitch your wagon onto? Do I join this group? Do I join that group? It's kind of hard to, and that's, I think, part of why they're trying to get all together and figure out how they can work together for some common issues, like the yellow-legged hornet, which some people there were saying isn't getting enough attention as it deserves, or triple lapse mite, that kind of thing, or amatraz resistance, or whatever.
The buzzword right now is AAA lapse, and be honest with you, I haven't really delved into it as far as any research listening, and I'm like, okay, it ain't here yet, and I'm not sure how long it's going to, whether it's going to be in 5 years or 10 years, but
what's interesting about AAA lapse is it's not bringing any new viruses that we know of right now. So we still have the same viruses to deal with. And once again, I mean, if you guys have heard me talk about it, what are we doing about the internal fight with viruses? Because if we can internally correct the virus problem, then trophy might not be a big deal. But assuming that they bring the same, they bring the same viruses, or transmit the same virus. Bring is not the right word. But if they start transmitting, like, DWF XYZ, then that's a totally different virus, maybe, or an offshoot that the bees would have a problem with. So I haven't heard anything else, so I'm just kind of keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah, you mentioned that. We got a gal in our vice president in our club. She is a scientist at Johns Hopkins, and I said, and this was at a board meeting, and I said, I was talking about the guy that Bob Bennington had on his video here about a month ago. And of course, she said, well, that, of course, it wasn't hard science and it wasn't hard anything about the microbials would help with the bees fighting against the viruses. And I told her, I said, well, then why, it's been mites for 30 years. Well, what about the virus side? Why can't we, hasn't anybody started to look into, fighting the virus, just like you said?
Yeah.
And she, well, you can't, you can't do this, can't do that or whatever. And I'm sure she knows more than I, but kind of got that blinded deaf ear, you might say, kind of like Sammy Ramsey when he told everybody in his science community that it wasn't the blood or the hemoglobin, but it was the fat bodies. And no, you don't know what you're talking about. You're young and new.
Mm-hmm.
And then he proved it with having it lay an egg in the laboratory, which nobody could do for 30 plus years because they fed it the wrong food. He fed it to fat bodies.
Well, did you you watch the stream team last night?
No, not really.
Okay, so I brought up the question about
I had our club had our Christmas dinner.
I asked the question. Randy Oliver was on there, and Brian put up the question that I posed, and basically to bottom line it was, what are we doing about the viruses? OA can work, but what about internally? Because that's obviously viruses are inside the bees, not on the outside. So he gave up some information that I thought was kind of interesting. He said that he is working on a virus product right now. So he's running trials on something that someone's thought of. So who knows? In maybe a year or so, we might have something more. I'm not certain about the Naroa. I know that it's a mRNA type of compound, but I don't know how that's going to work against the virus battle inside the bee.
Well, one thing with that, and I've studied on that a little bit, that's going to be a product that you have to be quite, or I'll say precise, of when you apply it at certain times of the year, so the bees will actually eat it and not store it. So it gets, the way I understand it, it gets into the bee system, and then the mites suck off the bee, and which in turns makes them.
It kills the mite, but not the virus. So it's an internal feed type system that will get rid of the mite. But again, once the mite bites the bee, that's where the transferring of virus happens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Who knows? It's
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's interesting stuff. I think the mRNA road, if you will, is can be very helpful. But as of yet, there's nothing for viruses specifically. So
well, while we're kind of on all this mite stuff, I went and emailed Mike from Easy Ox, and everybody should know that EPA is, legalized 4 grams per brood box. And then the next thing is you have to change the labels, which in turn, what's the product that Man Lake sells from overseas? It's
Apibioxyl.
Apibioxyl. That company has petitioned the EPA, and that's how we got the 4 grams to be able to be posted on the label. And then I emailed Mike and them and about, are you going to be able to change the labels and stuff? And he said he should know something by this past the 9th, what date that was.
Well, days ago.
2 days, last Tuesday. Past Tuesday.
Yeah.
He's got the 5-pound bucket coming out with 4 gram label on it. Possibly maybe by Nabi. His other paper pouches will have, he's put in for all that. Hopefully he's gotten contacted by EPA by now where he can update the labeling for those. And he's working on California too, submitting, I guess, to be able to put that in there, that state. And then he's still working on his extended release pads. I'm not sure where that is at. But good news. I mean, we're gonna quote finally become legal in the way we do stuff.
Hang on one second, Charlie. Brian, so if you switch over to the YouTube side and you hover over to the right-hand side of the link, you hit the three buttons.
I just pinned it.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I'm not on there, so I didn't.
No, I was like 30 I was going slow, but I was 30 seconds ahead of you. I just figured it out because I remember you explained it to me last time. And it was like the 3 dots. That's what it is.
It takes a little bit. Yeah, I know. It took me a couple of times.
Yeah, Tom for Melissa. He's it's real close as far as the 5-pound bucket from what I gathered in the email.
Wow, 5 pounds would it would last me probably.
Well, I bought
15 years.
Really?
Oh,
See,
I mean,
when I was doing OA like 6 weeks in a row, twice a week, I'd go through 5 to 10 pounds of OA. Of course, I was doing about 40 some hives.
Oh,
and I mean, I was blowing through that stuff. I picked up 10 pounds of OAV or OA at Hive Life, and I got 3 or 4 pounds left.
I have the big bag of the other company out of Florida. I won't mention it.
That's what
I have a big bag of that, and I barely made a dent in it so far. Now, before I forget, I've got to tell DC this story. So I just recently had this problem with the Real ID. Now in California, this is what we did, or I do, or we do. You go to the DMV. I had a passport already. Now I could have taken the passport and flown with it, but I hate, unless I'm going overseas, I don't want to carry that passport because I don't want to risk losing it. But to me, I needed to get my driver's license renewed anyway. It expires on my birthday, which is January 3rd. So I have to get a new one anyway. So I just switched it from the regular driver's license to the Real ID, which is a driver's license with a little, I think it actually says Real ID in the upper right hand corner.
It's got a star.
Huh?
It's got a star.
Yeah. So it's still a driver's license, at least from what I know. And so I had to produce my passport to prove my citizenship. Then I had to also prove my residency with 2 documents. Now, there was a whole list that California accepts. One of them was a bank statement or a utility bill. I just brought a bank statement because my utility bill's online. I didn't want to print it out. So I got the bank statement. And then the other thing was my car registration, which has my address on it anyway. So you have to produce those. I produced it. I took my picture. I paid my fee. And hopefully I get it before Navi. If not, I still have my passport to use. And then on the passport side thing, there's a passport card you could put. Instead of bringing the whole booklet, you could just have a passport card made, and then TSA will accept that too. Now, DC, if you don't have a Real ID and you have a driver's license that's issued from the state of Washington, when you go to the airport, and I got this from a friend at work, her spouse is a TSA agent here in Fresno. If you produce that ID at the airport, they will systematically just randomly pull someone out of line, and they will interview you. They will ask you a couple questions, and that's it. All it is, they want to make sure who you are, who you are, at least on the ID. They'll let you back in line, and you could go through and do whatever. But you can fly with a regular license right now. The only issue is if you go to major airports like LAX or Newark or LaGuardia, the TSA may charge you a fee for not having the real ID. If you produce a driver's license, they may charge you a fee at those bigger airports. The one here in town, the TSA guy that I know, he's like, no way, we're not doing that. And then he said that they might only pick one or two people out of a line in the whole the first half of the day. So it's really random. That's my 2 cents on this. So, but it has to be a driver's license or a state ID. It can't be. I know DC, you said that you had a military ID or a veteran's card. That's not going to. That I don't believe that'll work with the TSA. You'll have to check on the website. So, sorry, I didn't mean to make the grump come back, but that's just the reality of it. So, that's all I wanted to say about that.
The only thing I want to say, DC, is I'm sure you have reasons to feel the way you do, and everyone's trying to help solve it because they really want to see you. So that's really what it's all coming from. Everyone's really excited because they want to see you, and if there's a way we could get you there, we want to help you get there. So I get that you're feeling. You have a reason for the way you're feeling, and it doesn't matter if we quite get it or not. We just really want to see you, man. So if it works out, that'd be great. And if not, that's cool too. We understand.
That's what it's Knobby to me is all about, is the fact that it's to me, it's like a big rendezvous of beekeepers that we see each other every week or every night of the week on these chats. So now we finally get to actually meet in person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to say I did get to talk to the let's see if I can get it. The Cream Pal people a little bit down in Tampa. Oh, there we go. I got to tilt it. I talked to them a little bit, so I was learning about their product.
What is that thing? Like some kind of
it's a honey creaming machine.
Is that your next step, is it?
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see, Charlie.
Well, I mean, explain that if you can. If you figure, is it like you pour it in and it comes out and you're done, or?
Yeah, it's a different type of creaming machine, and they don't exactly explain the inner parts of it, but the product, man, was amazing. I think it's a superior product, and they've got one machine which is like $30,000, and they're supposed to be coming out with a smaller version. And
I think, if I'm not mistaken, they were at Knobby, was it, or Hive Life?
They were at one of, I don't think last year, but maybe the one before. Maybe the first year in Louisville.
Round cylinders and long, and I'm like, what is that thing?
Yeah, it looked like a cabinet almost, like a stainless steel cabinet with you pour the honey in and it comes out on the other end. So that's one thing I was looking at. There was another company. This one was pretty interesting, and you might have seen some of the papers or articles that came out from a company called Apix Bioscience, coming out with an Apis pollen.
I've heard of it.
Not getting the focus. But anyway, that was a pretty cool one, which is it's basically a pollen substitute made out of yeast that's showing some pretty cool performances based on, man, there's a lot of charts based on this chart. Look at all the progress. Look at that chart. Look at all the bees dying, a lot of charts and everything. And I took a whole bunch of pictures, and then I went back and I looked at my phone. And I'm like, this is a line chart. This is a pie. It's all not interesting stuff to post. But that one sounded pretty interesting. The only thing I was wanting that the data didn't really have is all the comparisons were against pollen sub products, there was no comparison of like a pollen patty like global patties with actual pollen in it. I kind of wanted to see the data on that. So I went and I talked to that company after I saw the talk, and they were, I don't know, they were wanting to sell me a pallet basically. And I'm like, I got 100 colonies. What am I going to do with the pallet? And he's like, well, you can sell it to your bee club, sell it to all your friends. And I'm like, I'm not your distributor, pal. Just sell it to a company that I can buy it from. You're pricing out a whole bunch of potential customers by just selling pallets. So that's where they wanted to go in their first year, and we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like myself. I'm experimenting with Super DFM, and I don't know what's going to go with it, but I put the powder on for the last 4 months, I guess it has been. And I do know the Super Strong Microbials is coming out with they had a little teeny bee bite bars, which is kind of like their pollen patty, and was a little like a candy bar. And I said, well, that ain't big enough for anything. That will last 2 days if the bees are really after it. And then I showed a product where it was like in a bread loaf, I'll call it, and you sliced it yourself. They're done that with fondant in 50-pound cakes, pain. And now they've come out with they got up with the rest of the crowd, as I call it. They're coming out with 1 pound patties, pre-made patties with paper, top and bottom. But their patties are 15% pollen. They got is either spirulina or algae in there of some sort.
Yep.
And they got the microbials in there, and they got the rocket fuel in there. So you got about 4 major products that are beneficial, should be to the bees. Right. I'm wondering whether or not that will be beneficial compared to global patties, which I have. And I've used them. But I think another thing is like the last 2 years, I put the global patty on this spring, and they were going through about 1 pound a week. And I could see that my bee production was not all that great. I kind of blamed it on the patties, but then as I got into it with them and watched the queens and evaluated queens, I believe it was more the queen issue than anything else. So if I can get my queens on a rotation, which I've got new queens that were June queens, see what kind of a boosting hive is going to be with a fresh queen in there, and get back to that. So
yeah, I tell you though, when there's 4 different things in a product, it's really hard to kind of isolate the response to like what's doing what in there. You can throw everything at your bees, but you can only afford so much. So I'm not saying those are bad products. I'm just saying that for me, it kind of clouds their purpose when there's 4 different things in 4 different supplements in the fondant.
That's what well, that's anything, right? So whenever you make any adjustments of what you're doing in your bee yard, it's hard to narrow down what's effective and what's not if you're changing multiple things at one time, right? Yeah. Which has been kind of like the bane of my existence, because I get on, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this, right? And
I think the last 2 years of experience about having a fresh queen in there, a first-year queen versus a second-year queen, I think I need to be on having first-year queens coming in every year. I think I'll definitely see a major difference in that hive. I.e. building up good strength and all that stuff.
I've been watching this beekeeper that's I think he's in Central Alabama. And I can't even think of his name right now. I was kind of hoping that his page would pop up on my YouTube there. But what he's been doing, and he seems to have a relatively larger operation, but as soon as he does it twice a year. He does it in the spring and he does it in the fall after, like, immediately when he pulls his honey. He shakes all the bees back down to one colony, and then he takes 3 frames of open brood, and he puts it in another box and sets it over a queen excluder right on top, right? So he's populating a nuke immediately after he shakes all of his population down, and then he takes his honey and goes and extracts it out. But and then the next day he comes back and removes the queen excluder and puts a double screen bottom board on it and puts that split right on top of his other colony. And he says sometimes he just does it like a walk away, and sometimes he does it as, you know, he'll add a cell or something like that, and that way it gives him the highest chance of getting that queen mated for his own fall splits. So when he comes into the next year, every one of his colonies has already been split from the year before, and it gives it a high success rate because of the heat that is getting from the mother colony below. But he does it quite often, right? He'll do it in the spring as a method of splitting his colonies for swarm prevention, to grow his numbers for honey production. And then he does it in the fall. So coming into next spring, he's got fresh colonies that are vibrant with new queens that way. And I thought it was kind of interesting, and it's simple. You know, we've seen that process as far as doing it for queen mating too, right? Pulling up brood, bring them up, and that. But he just removes that and puts that double screen board in there. So, but he's got to keep a bunch of them. Sorry, didn't mean to come in and like take over.
No, and you say he's from Alabama.
Yeah,
You know, he's got a lot of. He's like Cajun there, Brad.
I think it's Chilton.
You got about 10 months.
Yeah, it's Chilton Bee Company or something like that. I watched that guy.
But he's got 10 months worth of bee time, you know, because of the heat. So he can do that spring and fall type of thing. So you got to watch where you live at too.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, but you know, that's not too different from what Ian does after he pulls the honey that he makes.
There, Brian.
But they just add mated queens, right? Or, you know, his queen cells or whatever he's got from his nukes. But I just thought it was interesting because it kind of gives you 2 splits off of one colony without really hindering your honey flow. So that kind of just popped in my head for that.
Yeah, well, that's what Brad there says. He's got 15 of them double screened that way.
I don't even have that many double screen boards, but I mean, after that initial day, when you come back, you could move those frames off into a nuke down here. It doesn't get all that cold.
You know, Randy Oliver was talking about something similar. I was cooking.
No, not Todd cooking.
And it was I can't remember now that I think about it, but it was where he would replacing queens or something, and he didn't care what box the queen was in. He put a cell in each something. I don't know, but anyway, he would end up putting like the smaller half of the colony on top. I think it was a swarm. He would put it on top of the existing one, and let them fight it out. And somehow he said that it makes more honey or something like that. I can't remember now. I'm going to have to look that over, but I've heard of it, but I never paid attention to it. And again, I didn't last night, but he, I guess, does it all the time. So,
well, yeah. So this guy,
and it's similar to Chilton. So,
and I just stumbled on his channel. So I don't, it just seemed like he was a nice guy. His videos are very long.
Yeah.
So he's going to talk, and he talks country. So if that bugs you, it's probably not the channel for you. But, but the thing is, he does show you exactly how he's doing it step by step. And you just got to bear with it. It's sometimes kind of hard to watch. I get it, but for what he's doing and where he's at, it seemed, and he says that his bees have been worked with by Auburn University. They've done some work with him, and LSU has done some work with him at his bee yard. And he says, I think he says in 14 years, he's never treated his bees.
Yeah, he
which was, I found that interesting. He said now he did use the caveat, right? He said, I've lost bees, a lot of bees, which is kind of why he adopted that system that he uses to always replenishing, and and so that was now
DC was talking about early splits is what Randy was talking about, and that's what he was talking about. But another comment, like Tom said, Charlie's Demery makes more honey too, but Randy made the comment that it makes just as much or more as Demery, but hardly the work. So,
and what's Randy doing?
I'm going to have to watch that thing over again. He mentioned it real quickly, but when he does his splits, he recombines them, I think is what it was, but I don't know.
And what's the name of this guy? Or what?
Randy Oliver. Maybe
the one at Bob.
He's on the stream team.
The one that I'm talking about, Chilton Bee Company.
You say Bee Company?
Chilton Bee Company.
Chilton, like the
hotel with the C in front of it. But I mean, I thought it was
there's tons of ways to make honey. We all know that.
Yeah, I just for me, I kind of like his method. For me? I mean, I don't know. Is it any easier? I mean, I don't have a bunch of double screen boards, but but again, if you're not going to leave them on top, you're taking 3 frames of bees, and then he comes back 4 days later, and he knocks down all of the cap cells and only leaves the newest open queen cell for them to finish, right? So that is doing 2 things, really. All the larvae would be too old by that point, right, to make a new one. And he's making sure that he's getting the youngest queen that has been laid.
You know what I just thought of? And Brent had made the comment about the OTC method. This, what Randy was talking about, is kind of very similar to the OTC method. You just leave them alone and let them do their thing. And well, I'm gonna have to look on his website and see if he's got a video on it, because now it's piquing my interest.
I think I heard or seen somebody where how was it? They brought the brood up above the double screen board, let them make another hive up there. But then they went downstairs and maybe pulled the queen out, the old queen. And then because of the brood smells, they're not disassociated with each other. And then they combined it with that new queen. I'm not sure if that actually how it worked or not.
All right, guys. So every month I do for the Colorado State Beekeeping Association a sustainability chat with experts. And one month I did one with Bob Binney. And his topic was maximizing your honey crop using double screen boards. And this is basically the method that he describes, where you're making a vertical split. You're pulling brood out of your original colony, letting them requeen, create a queen in a colony above a double screen board. And then a week before your honey flow, you pull out that double screen board and combine them. And what you're doing is you're letting them choose the queen, and then you're just dumping a whole bunch of bees in this one box to maximize your honey flow during that timing. Now, you've got to know your flow, and you've got to be able to time that perfectly. but that's basically the method that he described. So I posted that link in the chat. It's the YouTube one with all the random letters and numbers that doesn't look like anything. But if you want to go to it, it's Colorado State Beekeeping Association, and it's Bob Binney. He does a great job of describing it. So it sounds, Bob, like the same thing you're describing that Chilton guy's doing. And you can tell who's thinking about splits already, right? I'm like, it's snowing. And Bob's like, well.
You know, I watched him because the longitude and latitude of where he is to where I am is probably about 1 week difference in time, right? So, so it's very interesting. It seems like our honey flows line up pretty close based on his last year videos, right? That I went back and watched. So it could be something that would work really well here. And because you're using that double screen board, you don't have to worry about really making too small of a split because they're getting the heat from the mother colony below, right? So it was just a thought. I just kind of like this content. He's not very exciting. I mean, he's not going to be, you know, jumping up and down and being energetic. He's kind of a reserved guy, but it was pretty cool. And it's something that I'm probably going to try to implement in the spring once I start seeing them build up. I mean, yesterday I was out there and they were bringing in pollen. So
I'm hitting buttons. I'm sorry. Whoops. Damn.
Go.
That's the only way you learn, Todd, is by hitting them, right?
I was
trying to display something, Todd. What are you trying to do?
No. Okay. So instead of trying to type it in the private chat, can you put that link in the private chat, please?
The link to
Bob's video, that discussion you had with Bob.
Sure.
I don't know what button I hit on my keyboard that made it go sideways, but
Brad said you're one sneeze away from total failure.
Yeah, I know. Just about.
In private chat. Do I have to be on YouTube to be in the private chat? No.
No, you could go down. You see where it's at on the bottom of that?
I see it under starred comments.
All right, who is Shonona? Shona?
Shona?
Shauna. Highland
Honey. That's Shona. Or Shona. I think it's Shona.
I don't know that I like the @ signs, right? That they're doing, because sometimes it doesn't always line up with the channel name.
Just text it to me, Brian.
Yeah,
I can't pull it off of the chat because then if I click on it, it puts it like watch. It does that.
I found the private chat. I found it. All right, now it's in the private chat.
I've got listed is
he's in Missouri. He's in I think he's southwest of St. Louis. I remember.
Yeah.
St. Charles, I think, or something. I don't know. But Shona, I used to be in Billings, which is in the southwest corner below Springfield.
I like that walk in the woods guy. He's like a commercial guy. He's in Florida and he's moving to Tennessee. His name is Matthew something. Do you guys know who I'm talking about?
I've seen his channel before.
Yeah.
Bees in the Weeds or something like that.
That's Josh. That's Josh.
Yeah, that's Josh.
Josh is out in Kentucky.
It's Walk in the Woods, and I would always get them mixed up too because they sound the same. And he's
Matt
a commercial guy.
Matt
Shona. I apologize, Shona. I thought you were a he. I'm sorry.
I've enjoyed his. He recently posted a video on him doing like queen rearing at a Alabama club, and it was like,
that guy. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, And I think it was like drinking out of a fire hose for those people because he just went right for it. And like I think maybe 2 people in the audience had grafted, but it was really good. And he does a lot of really interesting stuff. It's interesting watching him grow. It's like that Emily and Casey, it's like it's just fun watching the young people grow and go for it and take risks. And I don't know, that's fun. It's fun to watch people that have that young energy. I don't have that energy anymore, so
So I'm trying something. I don't know if it's going to work or not. We'll see. I posted on Facebook on my personal page because, I had a good response of people saying that I could use their land to put bees on last year.
Yeah.
So this year I'm posting hey, if you want to sponsor a hive, right? And all I'm going to do is use that to buy packages, and I'll put their name on the colony or something like that, and maybe email them some updates on how's it going with their colony, right? And see if it works. Our club limits us to 10 packages, so see if I can get a few people to, a lot of people always post save the bees, put your money where the mouth is. Now let's save some bees. see what happens with it. Probably nothing, but especially this close to Christmas, but we'll see how it goes with that.
I'm trying to get less yards, Bob. I'm trying to get rid of my onesie twosies, and I know that's my.
I'm trying to build my yards up to about 10 colonies apiece. Yeah. Right, that's it.
But that's my advice. Don't take onesie twosies. Have a minimum, and don't stray for your minimums because you'll regret it. The ones that have the less, that are the farthest out, are the ones you'll never get to. And they won't get the treatments or the food or the whatever because you're like, right. I'll get them next time.
And then next time you don't get out there. But I'm just trying to build them up and see what happens. I've not once installed a package ever. I've never done it. I've never bought a package. So if I do get packages, we'll see how that goes for me this year. Probably not too difficult.
Yeah, installing a package is easy. It's just whether or not the queen stays. I helped a lady who just started a business last year. She got, I don't know, like 3 pallets of packages. So I helped her during her pickup day. And there was a couple of packages that were damaged in transit. So they were open and bees were coming out. So I would just go like 100 feet behind everybody, install it into a 5-frame nuke. I did that like 3 times, but it's like, that was fun. It was fun to watch all the people. I was watching all the people excited, not knowing what to do with the package of bees. And they're like, this is going in my car now. And some people are like coming, like they'll come dressed up, and you're like, all right, you're brand new.
You can tell the bright white suit.
Yeah. It's fun to feel that energy because I don't usually participate in that kind of new beekeeper energy. So it was fun.
Well, our club is selling packages for $125. So it's not, I got a buddy of mine that probably buys 30 pounds of honey a month or more, with the creamed honeys and stuff he buys. So he's, he was the guy in the past that offered to buy some queens, like for splits for me, just like donate them. So I might hit him up and be like, hey man, you're buying like $300+ in honey a year. If you want to pay that in front, then I'll give you one 3-pounder a month, right? And then I'll get 3 colonies out of it. Should make way more than that amount of honey.
All right, Brian, can you talk about how you are feeling about your bee management deals, the 2 or 3 hives? Those are okay. They do pretty well. I was thinking about offering to manage up to 3 hives for $1,500 a year. Do you need to talk to me? well, well, this is what I do because so much of your time is driving out there and driving back. So I have an initial fee for the first colony, and then if they do additional colonies above that, it's a different, lesser fee, right? So if I were to just if I were to ask for $100 for the first colony, which is not what I ask, I wouldn't ask $100 for the second colony because most of my work is in driving out there, not in working the bees, right? So it might be like $60 for any additional colony after it, not that full amount. And it also depends on what else you can get out of it. The ones I do are the people are usually pretty hands off, which is nice. They're not super needy and super demanding. I often get other work with it, like the one people, they pay me to jar their honey, they pay me to cream their honey, they pay me to do lemon creamed honey. Like they pay me to do stuff in addition to manage their bees. With the solar farm, they buy little honey favors from me and they give them out to their clients. So there are often other benefits that come from them.
What you really like is when they say, extract my honey in the middle of the wintertime, right?
Yeah, that's the best. That was my one horror show of the year. Yep, that sucked. In fact, I went to that yard today.
What if you have to? What if the hive is booming, and you need to split it? I mean, what do you tell them then, or do you just give them the option? Do you want another hive and an additional cost, or do you just take?
Or do you take the split?
Yeah.
Yes, and yes. The one yard that has 3 colonies, I actually have 5 slots there, and 2 of those slots are like my resource colonies for those spots. But also, like Bob is saying, like I tell these people, I will manage these colonies like I manage my own colonies. And I pull splits out of my colonies in the spring for swarm prevention. So there are times where I might be pulling 2 broods out of their colonies and putting in frames of foundation. They're my frames of foundation that are going in there, and they're my frames of brood that are getting pulled out of there going home with me in the truck. But also, they just got patties today when I went and fed them today. They just got OAV'd with my oxalic acid vaporizer, with my oxalic acid tablets and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like it's a wash. I'm doing swarm prevention like they want me to do. They don't want their colonies swarming there. And half the time it's helping regenerate their queens. Sometimes they'll get their colony will get to the point where they're gonna swarm, and I'll just let them. I'll pull them back. I'll leave a queen cell. I'll pull out the old queen and then let them just do what I would. I'll manage that colony like I manage mine. They're still going to get honey that year, but because they only have 1-2 colonies, they only have 2 to 4 supers, so it's not a problem. It works out. It works out pretty well. The only problems I have is when the people are super needy, when they're like have weird demands, trying to jump through, just trying to appease their weird demands, like I'm out of town and I want to extract my honey, but I can't do it till November. Can you wait? And you're like, yeah, sure, I can do that. Or the one guy wanted me to move his colonies like 50 feet away, and it was a pain to do, and I did it, but it wasn't the best plan in the world. He wanted to move the colonies so his kid could have some like swing thing going from the tree, and he wanted to move them into this place that's just not great now. So I have no room to work the bees, and it's super tight. That's the other thing. Sometimes you don't have the best say of where the colony can go. They want it in a certain place, and you're like, all right, if that's where you want it. But if it's 1 or 2 colonies, it's not a big deal. My benefit is I have a group clustered together. So I have like 4 kind of in a row where I can hit. 2 are neighbors, so they're right next to each other, and they're like super rich people. And then I have like 10 minutes away on the way home is another yard that just has 1. And then 5 minutes on my way home is another one that has 2 colonies. But on the flip side, there are also times where those colonies have died and I'm replacing them with my bees or a swarm or something like that. So I feel like it all evens out. Sometimes I get extra bees, sometimes I give extra bees, but either way, they have the stability of always knowing that they'll have bees.
So what do you do if they lose a colony over the winter?
It depends. It depends on that customer, and it depends on the history. Like the one customer has backup colonies, and I'll just plug in one of those backup colonies into those production slots, and make splits and put them into those backup slots for the future. It depends. It depends.
And they get to keep 100% of their honey, or do you tax them?
Nope. I mean, anything that's taxable is just incidental from the uncapping tank. There's no equation or percentage or anything like that. You always get, well, I get the wax, I get that, but if anyone asked for it, I'd say yeah, and I wouldn't measure it out. I just give them, I'd estimate, this is what I think would come out of that amount of boxes, and here you go, and it would just come from the same pile of all my other wax, just for simplicity.
That's
right. I don't know if I answered his questions or not, because I just started rambling and didn't look at the comments. Yeah, there you go. But the price is going to be variable, and the one thing I found is that you can set your bar pretty high, and a lot of people will say no, but some people will say yes, and if you're okay with that, that works.
Well, guys, I'm going to pop out.
Yeah, I think it's almost time too. It's getting pretty late.
Bill said, are you charging extra fee to extract?
Yes. Yes and no. It depends. It depends on the customer. Good night, Charlie. I would say it depends. I haven't been very consistent with that part. Like some people just had like a half of a box, so I'm like, I'll spit it out for you. It's no big deal. I haven't like gotten to a point where it's like hard and solid. If it's this much, I charge it. It's just kind of been from person to person. So I could get better at that for sure. I know some people that do that and do the corporate route, and they get a lot of money, but that's a totally different thing where the corporation gets the honey. They might get the beekeeper might even purchase the jars to put the honey in. They would get labels, but oftentimes those are really big paychecks that those people get.
I met someone who does rooftop beekeeping in the Bay Area, and they go from building to building, or block to block, and they love it. But I think it would be a pain in the butt to drag stuff upstairs and downstairs. And I'm like, I don't know how you guys do it.
Some of those only have like roof access that you had to climb up a ladder too.
Yeah.
It'd be a pain getting boxes and frames and everything up there, but
go ahead, Todd.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I just remembered what this guy was telling me. One building had the window washer scaffolding up at the top, and they would load it with boxes to drop it down the building. The company didn't have a problem with that, so they had someone operating it. It took a while, but I mean that's how they got it downstairs.
Some of those companies also have the business model where there's certain people sitting behind a computer planning the business, and then there's college kids that they hire and train to climb up on the roofs and do the actual beekeeping work. So it's a mathematical equation. I'm not sure all those businesses are the best animal husbandry models, but they pencil out on paper pretty well.
If they're in a city, I don't know what the bees are getting besides sodas in the trash can on the street.
Yeah.
There's some flowers, but not a lot. So whatever they're getting, I guess. Doesn't matter.
There's a group here called the Denver Urban Gardens, and they have a lot of community neighborhood gardens, and each are run kind of independently. There was one that reached out to me. Oh, it was at a farmer's market. The lady came by and she's like, we need a beekeeper. You want to put your bees on this urban garden? I'm like, where is it? And it's like a block from Union Station, downtown Denver, like the big train station. right across from a Whole Foods. There's restaurants everywhere. My son and I went down to scope out the place, and you look around, and it was potential bee human conflict all around. Like outdoor restaurants everywhere, like bums walking down the street, gonna throw stuff at my beehives, and I was like, I didn't want to do it, and they wanted to pay me to put a beehive there, and I just walked away from it. It wasn't going to be good for the bees. It was just going to be potential problem after problem. I didn't want to do it, and that's not a rooftop one, but that was right in the middle of an urban area.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's a whole different animal. Running up ladders and stairs and being in in an urban area to begin with, it's almost a food desert for bees,
In some places, yeah. Now, I don't know what other cities are like. This is a downtown area. If you leave that downtown area and you're like in central Denver, there's tons of trees in that area for bees. So it's actually a pretty great place to keep bees if you can find places to put them, because there's all these old trees and everywhere. In fact, I didn't know this until I started catching swarms. There's a hell of a lot of bee trees in the Denver area just because there's these old cottonwoods and silver and red maples that are just so big and in that Denver area. And there's all these backyard beekeepers that their colonies end up swarming and end up colonizing these trees. So there's a pretty good bee tree population in the Denver area that you don't notice until you start noticing. One of those things. And then they're everywhere.
Yeah. Crazy stuff. Now they're crazy insects to begin with. So if they weren't, it wouldn't be fun. Let's put it that way.
Now, Todd, are you in a place like Bob where you're itching to go? You're thinking about spring splits, or you still got a little bit of winter left before you got work to do?
I do, and I probably won't start until February. So yeah, I've got a ways to go, but our conversation.
Todd.
What's that?
Weeks. It's only 8 weeks.
Yeah, that's a lot. I talked to Brian it was a few weeks ago where I was just burned. I was on burnout big time, and it was because I was standing around on a couple colonies that I knew weren't going to make it anyway. I wasn't babysitting them, but I thought, well, maybe they'll make it. Maybe they, hopefully they make it. And a couple of them died off, and it brought me back to last, February when I discovered I lost like 83% of my bees. I lost what was it, 74 down to 12. So I lost 62 colonies, and it just dropped me into the depths of, oh, not again. And I started just kind of going down that road for a while.
I'll tell you, my out yard, the one that's closest to here, that's the one where I didn't put any like feed on them after the flow at all. It's like there's farmers' fields. Let's see how they do without any extra feed. I've lost a nuke that was a cutout that was small, and I didn't think that was going to make it anyway. But 2 other colonies yesterday had no signs of life in them yesterday. So I've lost 3 out there. But everyone here that I implemented, hey, I'm going to put the feed to them right away and help them through, they're all fine. The 3 that I put feed on out in Lexington, they're all doing good. But the ones that I neglected purposefully, didn't put food on them just to see, they're struggling right now. Yeah. So
it's a kick in the pants. You work so hard the year before, and then come out of winter and you discover this, and it sucks. And then, for me, the 12 that I had, I only had 3, maybe 4 that were really big enough to make a good crop. The other ones made teeny tiny crops, but my honey harvest this year was way low. And so you add all that up, and a few 3 weeks ago or so, that's where the burnout just finally hit me. I was just like, oh man. So but I'm back. Like I said, good to go. In February. February is actually crucial, the most important month for me, because there's still nothing out there for them to get, but it's kind of where the weather wakes them up and they're out and about, and they'll starve out in 3, 4, 5 days. They'll eat themselves out of stores and then they're gone. They're dead. I've had lots of experiences with that in the beginning, where I'd pull like the center 3 or 4 frames out, and it's just all clump of dead bees, and it sucks.
I went to one yard today. I texted the lady, I'm going to come by. I'm going to feed the bees. I'm going to give them mite treatment. She's like, okay, I think the one's dead. All right. I look at the one. That one's definitely got bees coming out of it. The other one didn't. I popped the top. There are no bees at all on the top. None. All right. This is the dead one. Pop the top box. The whole bottom box was full of bees. They were all in the bottom. I was like, "Oop, never mind. Sorry about that, ladies." But I took my losses in the fall. I did a lot of consolidating in the fall. I think I'm down to 78, and then I have 11 that I manage, and I have to check some of those tomorrow. I might have lost a couple of those. Some of those were looking bad. But we've been really warm, and I'm feeding them up now because I know I'm going to have to feed them up later, and it makes me feel better. I got to go around and OA them anyway at this time, and it'll make me feel like I'm doing something now.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, I didn't feel like I prepared them well in the fall just because of me going back and forth to Florida. It kind of makes me feel better, like I'm making up for poor fall management if I do something now.
I have to ask you.
Yeah.
How'd you come out with the creamed honey debacle when you were in Florida that your son created for you?
It just took time. Yeah, it just took time to get the air bubbles out. So it was patience was all it took. And he would go in and he would like spin it a little bit each day and then send me a picture. And I'd be like, nope, not yet. Nope, not yet. Nope, not yet. And then finally, after like 5 days, all the bubbles came out. And it's jarred and it looks fine. Yeah. In fact, he might have labeled them today. I was going through boxes today, seeing what still needed to be labeled. We have 2 last events this Sunday, and they're not big events, but I do have to jar some honey and get some stuff ready for this weekend. But it's nice we're kind of done for the year.
Yeah, it was a rough one, but we all made it through.
Yeah.
What I was going to mention was that saying about taking your losses in fall is so true. Like the 3 that I was talking about, I should have just took my losses and moved save the comb. I ended up saving the comb anyway, but if I did that, I probably wouldn't have felt as bad as I did with the way it ended up. So but there's a lot of truth to taking your losses in the fall, and it sucks, but it's helpful, because if you're a guy that doesn't have a lot of drawn comb, well, whatever you're knocking back or taking down, more likely will have some drawn comb in there for you to store, so you've got something for spring. But it was it's just a rule of thumb that you have to live by, I guess. And I don't mind it now. I should have done it, but I didn't.
And I think it's an easier pill to swallow if you have more colonies than you need, or as many colonies as you need, or if you're not quite there yet, you want to hold on to every queen and hope for your numbers to go up next year. Your position really helps you kind of be at ease with that. But in general, I think it's really good. There's less colonies to feed through the winter, if you have 15 or 10, there's 10 you're taking care of and you're treating and attending to versus 15. That, like you said, that comb is protected by bees, not just an empty box wherever they are. So that's going to allow you to make splits in the spring and have that comb be a whole lot more protected. So it just depends. But
And
I'm with you too. There were times where I should have reduced down and didn't. And this year I did. That's one thing
I think the reason why I didn't was because I was in kind of survival mode from the prior spring's loss. So I was still trying to build, right? And I shouldn't have, but it is what it is. I'm over it.
Todd, do you have your shopping list pretty much set for the Bee Expo? Do you know kind of what you've already purchased? Are you sending stuff back? Are you going and looking at some things as you walk the vendor show? What's your plan?
I have what I need right now, but I'm going to be walking around with money in my pocket.
Yeah.
Now, I can't bring, and when I say that, I mean like maybe hats, T-shirts, small items, something. What I'm doing is I'm packing a lot of my stuff in a big carry-on, but then I have a humongous suitcase that I'm going to basically have nothing in it.
Yeah.
So that's going to be my shipping box for the trip home. But yeah, I've got all the big stuff that I need. Just the little knickknacks, coffee cups, whatever, I'm gonna get.
Cool.
Mementos. Yeah. How about you?
The same. Most of the stuff I'm getting is going to be like consumable stuff. Nothing really super exciting. I'm going to stop and talk to the broodminder people. I definitely want to get a scale. I want to get a better sense of the flow, when that flow is coming in my colonies, just to have one kind of representative data point to kind of make colony decisions and maybe see what else they have to offer that might help me make better decisions like that. That's the one I definitely want to go to, that I've always wanted a scale for that reason, but it's never gotten to the list. What's up?
Maybe this is the year. Maybe this is the year for you.
Yeah. How about you, Bob? Are you getting anything this year? You got all you need?
I think never know, right? At the start of the season, I've in the past I found myself needing stuff like that I didn't have and having to run. But to look on the positive side from losing bees in the past, that I've been able to have plenty of boxes and drawn comb, and I've got some. The more I start organizing my bee yard, amazingly enough, I'm finding how many boxes and undrawn foundations that I still have, right? So that's helping out. So right now there's not really much that I think I need. So I should be able to be all right. Won't be going to the expo.
Oh, darn, Bob.
Yeah, for me, I like the expo. I like hanging out with everybody, right? And matter of fact, when I went to the last Hive Life, I went and saw 0 speakers and just hung out and talked to people, right? And I enjoy doing that. But 9 hours drive, which is nothing compared to what you drive, I understand. Then hotel and food and all of that stuff, it just doesn't make it economical for me to do that this year, especially since unemployed once again. So just gotta work it out and get back on our feet. And it's one of those things. And I was talking with Brad, and I was just saying, yeah, I can definitely do this, but it costs money to do it, right? And if you don't have the money, it's hard to do things, right? Like I could go buy honey if I had money, right, to turn around and sell it. So it's just one of those things. And right now it's a tough spot. And, it's not swarm season yet, so I don't have swarm lure sales to bolster that up, and I just have the honey sales. So we have to do what we can with what we've got. And I've got probably together between my creamer and my bottling tank that hasn't been bottled up yet. I don't know, maybe 20 gallons, maybe 30 gallons, right in that range still yet. So it's a little bit of money, and we'll just see what happens and make it a couple months, and people will start buying swarm lure again, and things will start picking up again. So it's just one of those things, but
Sure.
we just work with what we got.
Yep, it's not cheap, that's for sure. Like we'll spend a lot of money going there and coming back. I think we're both gonna fly, and then Jen's gonna fly back, and then I'm gonna drive and take my time so I don't have to rush and get her back to work.
How long a drive is it for you, Brian?
18 hours, I think.
It's
And
nice.
then last year we went south to avoid the snow, so we went down to 40, then cut across Arkansas and Texas maybe, and then headed back up. That was faster than trying to drive back through the snow.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Don't worry, DC. I won't ask for your ID.
See, Hope is north of me. What, you about an hour north of me, Hope? He's starting small pollen patties tomorrow and 1-to-1 for buildup to get them ready. So that's interesting. I need
Our
to make
first maples around like Valentine's Day. We get a pretty steady flow of pollen in the spring, not as much nectar. So we don't really, I've never fed pollen sub in the spring just because we always get so much naturally. It's always the nectar, the syrup, the sugar that I'm making sure that they don't starve out on in the spring.
Right. That's going to be interesting. I usually, the last year I did put pollen patties on early because right now the beetles are at the lowest point here, right? So it's easier for them to consume it. But they were bringing pollen in, so that yesterday, so I don't even know if it would be worth it to put any on.
Just you don't have to apologize to me, man. I don't care. I hate people getting in my business too. I hate when people park in front of my house. I'm like, what the hell you have to park there for? Why don't you go park somewhere else?
That's funny. It's I wish I was planning to go to the expo a few weeks ago, but things have changed, so can't really do it this year, unfortunately. One year, I'm like DC last year. One year I'll get there, and then boom, DC's there.
Hey, I've been saying that for the last couple of years too, and finally
you're going, and now I can't go.
there's no way I can not go now. I have already pulled the trigger on everything, so I'm good to go.
My daughter actually wants to go. My wife wants to go see my daughter in Tennessee when she's right on the Tennessee-Kentucky border for Christmas. It's like a week difference, and if I could, I would say, yeah, let's go up there and we'll just stay with her and then go to the show and then come back. She probably wouldn't even go to the show, just me go and leave her with the grandbaby, But just not to be this year, unfortunately. How late do you guys usually go live?
I think we're usually right around. This is it. We try to keep it within an hour and a half at the most. It could be an hour too, it just depends. I think we are kind of winding down, don't you think, Brian?
I sure do. Yeah.
I'm beat right now too. I am tired. Like, I don't know. Today work just wore me out. I was driving home tired. I was kind of not nodding off to sleep, but I was at the stoplights. I was kind of, fading out. So I don't know what it is besides work.
All right, guys. let's wrap it up here. I don't know when our next one is going to be. Our timing is like New Year's
Yeah.
Eve, or sorry, Christmas Eve, and then the Bee Expo. So I'm not sure exactly calendar wise when we'll come on next.
I'm kind of looking, Brian, and maybe you and I could talk more about this, but January 15th is a Thursday after Nobby. I don't know if we want to do it then or just have one show in January on the 22nd or have two shows like the 15th and the 29th.
Yeah, we'll have to figure it out. We'll have to get our calendars together.
We'll definitely have something in January because we got to talk about Nobby. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Bob, thanks for coming on. Charlie, thanks for coming on before. Thanks for helping us out. Todd, great seeing you.
Nice seeing you, Brian. Great seeing you, Bob.
Super exciting to see everyone in January. We are not organized to put up the buy your tickets at the Bee dinner, but I don't think there are very many tickets left. But you should definitely buy the Hives for Heroes raffle tickets if you haven't done so yet. There's lots of different ways you can support Hives for Heroes, and that's a great way to do so and have a lot of fun. Maybe you'll win something. And go check out Via Honeybees if you want to see the flyer for all that. I'm sure they have that all on their website.
And one of the best ways you can help Hives for Heroes is registering for Hives for Heroes to be a mentor.
That's right. Yep, lots of different ways you can help out. So please help out our veterans, folks. And we will see you soon, if not at NABI. Have a great night, everyone.
Good night, all.